Please give a warm welcome to Lucas.
Alright. Oh my god, my eyes. My name is LucasS. I am a senior in film, and this is my Zenith presentation. So my project was sort of like a research and application thing where I would just like research a cool camera trick or technique, find an example to show off to people, and then try and do my own version of that shot. So this was my process. I did a lot of research at the beginning, trying to find like the right shot that I wanted to do, and then more in my process. There's my super unorganized media player. Organization pays off. Do that. Then here's me doing the same shot over and over again. It's very hard. And then there's part of my script. So some challenges I faced was the editing. I'm not super good with Premiere. There's a lot of like small editing tricks that I didn't really know. And then for some of the shots, I didn't really understand them that well. I had this super blurry shot that you'll later find out why it was so blurry. And then sometimes I couldn't get things entirely in focus, and I would spend like hours and hours trying to figure out why it wouldn't work. And I just want the presentation to speak for itself, so.
In 1981, Sam Raimi released a horror film called The Evil Dead. Raimi was a low-budget independent filmmaker and could not afford the best gear at the time, leading him to make a lot of his gear using rigs made from wood that he would mount the camera on. In order to replace the effect of a Steadicam, he placed the camera on a wooden plank and had grips on either end that would run with it. This created the POV of a monster moving around. This technique would later go on to be used in other 80s low-budget films and also Raimi's own future works. For its time, I'd say that it works well as a substitute for a Steadicam, but how well does it hold up now? I decided to film in a similar manner, moving around like a mysterious creature, and my shots ended up way too shaky. I wasn't able to get a very stable shot at all. As I was filming, the amount of shake made the footage too blurry. I bent my legs and tried moving slower and was still getting shake. I later discovered that most areas using this technique used flatter surfaces and also moved slower than sped it up in post. So while this was fun to study and try out, there's definitely newer technology that makes this easier for amateur filmmakers. Tilt shift is an interesting thing that I wanted to explore. It involves changing depth of field to create scenes that appear like miniature scale models by blurring both the foreground and background so that only narrow portions of the shot are in focus. This allows filmmakers the ability to turn ordinary landscapes into miniature worlds that can captivate the audience. Typically, it's used in wide shots or bird's eye. One cool example is in The Social Network, where tilt shift was actually used as a workaround to scheduling date problems during its filming. The scene revolved around a boat race with an audience. However, the location was only available for a limited time. To make the scene, the wide shots are edited to make surroundings not as visible. This also fit the context of the scene because it could be highlighting the intensity of the race. I tried out my own miniature time-lapse. It unfortunately doesn't last very long, as I apparently wasn't allowed to film at the building I had scouted out. The next thing I researched is forced perspective, a technique where objects and subjects are placed in a way that they can appear larger, smaller, closer, or farther away than they actually are. This is achieved by carefully positioning the camera and the objects in the scene so that the scale of objects looks completely different. Many people use it in their everyday social media posts too. It saves you time on something that could be harder through editing. One film that utilizes this technique a lot is Lord of the Rings. In order to give off the illusion that the hobbits are short, even though the actors themselves are not, they built special rigs in order to place hobbit actors farther away and then direct them to face the general direction, and then that gives off the illusion they were looking at the person they were talking with. For my shot, my idea was fairly simple. Just jump off this short ledge and into the cup. All in all, the camera tricks I explored are good tools, some of which are good for small filmmakers that can't afford the best gear. After all, limitations breed creativity, and these techniques offer inventive ways to overcome those while still allowing you to deliver good visual storytelling. I hope you learned something useful, and thank you for watching.
questions?
I have a comment.
Yeah?
I just want to say your comment about limitations breed creativity is genius and spot on, because it's something that all creative people need to remember, that you don't run into a brick wall, you figure out a way around it. So thank you for putting that in there.
Sure.
So you did your shaky cam shot just by yourself, right?
Yeah, because I saw on like some tutorials that there are ways to like set it up where you can do it yourself, but I guess it's like not as stable.
But do you think, like, if you had another person, it would have been more stable? Because,
Maybe, yeah. I'm not entirely sure. Yeah.
Can you describe like the process of filming the tilt shift? What kind of it work?
So I would get up on like a higher place, and I would set it up on a tripod, and then you gotta like free lens it. So you actually have to like detach the lens from the camera, and then just kind of like get it in the. I don't know. I had my dad help me set it up, but there's like a way where if you get like a tilt shift lens, which is like I think they're not that expensive, you can actually just do it without needing that. Yeah.
What lens did you use for that shape?
I just used the wide angle lens. Yeah. Yeah.
How did you choose what skills you wanted to research, I guess? Like what films inspired you?
I kind of just like compiled a list of different kind of things that I heard about, researched a bit about it, and then like chose my 3 favorites. And like some of them I did see them like originally in movies,